Guys, we've got a 12-team Superflex PPR 1.75 for the tight end start 10. Scott, are you going DJ Moore and Devon Achane or Justin Jefferson? Go ahead, man.
Ooh, I'm able to get Justin Jefferson in a trade where I have to use a running back that can put up crooked numbers, no doubt, and a receiver that is good but probably falls firmly in the getting close to the age cliff / falls in the dead zone. Very good receiver, but not somebody that really has any clout if you're trying to move them. So if I can move both of those together and get myself a top 10 dynasty asset, a top 3 receiver, doing Justin Jefferson all day, I think this is a dream trade if this shows up in your inbox. I don't think it will happen now that Jefferson has his contract, but if you can get it like this, 100% I'm doing this type of deal. And it's not that I don't like DJ Moore or Achane. I think both of them are desirable assets that can definitely help you. But if this is what it takes to tier up, I'm doing this. And I'm Mr. Process, tier down, and I'm still taking Jefferson side. So I suspect Shane probably feels similar. But Shane, what do you think about this one?
This is tough for you. You have Achane. You love Achane. You love Jefferson. No, I don't.
Absolutely no thought. I'd smash Jefferson first. I'd go on the Twitters and type in Justin Jefferson in the search, looking for latest news, making sure that he didn't tear a nutsack or something, and then I would hit accept. DJ Moore, I was an original DJ Moore guy. I love that dude many years ago coming into the league. And Devon Achane, I spoke glowingly of, right? Like I'd adopt him if I could, mostly because he's rich and then I could take his money. But I would adopt him if I could. He's a spike week player, but dude, Justin Jefferson's a wide receiver 1. Till Marvin Harrison proves otherwise, it's Justin Jefferson. So yeah, I'm making this deal all day.
So I feel like we need to talk about DJ Moore, though. He just got a bag. So what are we doing? What's the action items? If you're a DJ Moore owner, are you searching out deals? Are you putting him on the block, or are you trying to acquire him? What's the price tag? Go ahead, Scott.
So DJ Moore did just get an extension, but he had already gotten the bag. It just was not a bag adjusted for the current market where players are getting 30% more than what he got a few years ago. So good for him. He took a deal probably in line with some of the other receivers. Frankly, I mean, he's better than some of the guys that got similar contracts as him. He's probably better than Michael Pittman. I think he has a better sample size than Michael Pittman. He's definitely better than Calvin Ridley. Like those guys have gotten the bag. I think he is what he is. Shane was an original fan. DJ Moore was the receiver that you prayed for a long time, got a good landing spot. He got a good landing spot when he went to the Bears. We didn't necessarily think it was going to be great, but it ended up being good. Now it's probably better with their offensive situation, but he's getting to a point where he doesn't hold really any clout anymore. He's just there. He's a good receiver. He's probably an older version of Michael Pittman. You know what you're going to get out of him. So I don't think the extension, this isn't a player that was in flux, right? His situation is what it is. He's probably wide receiver 15 to 30 for the next 2 or 3 years. If Caleb Williams is good, he may have a season where he's slightly higher than that. I just don't think there's much. He's an innings eater. I don't think there's much you put him on the block. Somebody either wants him or they don't. But I don't think it's like, oh, if he starts out really hot, you're going to sell him for a premium. I think that point in his career is past.
So let's start off with a hammer here from R Noble. So hammers, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/trades-in-5 and you can submit your hammers, buy us coffees. And we'll throw them up here on the screen. So R Noble, thank you for yours. This is a 10-team Superflex PPR start 9. So Shane, we'll start with you on this one. Purdy, Young, and trash cans at quarterback. Has Garrett Wilson. No, actually, trash cans. Yes, trash cans are part of the quarterback. So I was looking for the running backs. Purdy, Young, and trash cans at quarterback. Mm-hmm. Garrett Wilson, Puka, London, Neighbors, Dell, Pickens, Ladd. At wide receiver, we have Bijan, Saquon, Najee, Zamir. And then at tight end, we have Kincaid, Komet, and Sanat. It's got 225 firsts and seconds in all futures. How do you improve this roster? And the last part was been debating making a move for QB. So let me clean that up real quick, Shane. So 10 team Superflex PPR start 9. And there's his team. The question generally, how do you improve this roster?
I mean, you go one of two ways, right? Obviously, you try to consolidate. And if that doesn't work, well, then trade some of these other excess pieces for future first so that maybe you can hit on something that's elite. Because I don't think that I like Dell, so I won't put him in that bucket. But like Pickens and Ladd, meh, whatever. You need to upgrade at quarterback. Purdy and Young. Obviously, you need to upgrade at Young. Purdy, fine. If he's my QB2, I'm okay with that in 10 by 9. I don't love it. I'm okay with it, but you clearly need to upgrade at quarterback. What was the tight end? Tight end's good, but it's not a premium. So can I move Kincaid for a premium price, even though it's not a premium league because people think he's a premium tight end? Bijan, Saquon, Najee, Zamir. I'm moving Zamir if I can. So just a lot of these excess pieces that really don't move the needle. I'm probably trying to look to move.
Start with this, Scott, because we're always talking about a 10 team versus a 12 team and the value of quarterbacks in each. His second part of the question was been debating making a move for a QB. So your QBs are Brock Purdy, Bryce Young in a 10 team. What are you doing there?
Yeah, I mean, just to address the first part to lead into the second part, this is another one of those teams you're probably not asking this hammer question because you're easily able to go an up tier with a lot of the extra assets that you have. You've probably already tried. Sometimes you have to put on the block the stuff you do not want to necessarily move. You probably want to move Zamir White over Saquon Barkley. But for this roster construction, you probably need to bet on Zamir White and move Saquon Barkley because someone may give you a first plus in the deal where they're just going to look at Zamir White and say, yeah, he's not any good. I think you probably have to be creative. You have to move a Dell, a Pickens, a Ladd, Saquon, Najee maybe. Like you need to try to move a couple of those guys for some flexibility. Then you go attack difference makers, but you do it in the form of, okay, I'm going to go try to get a top 8 quarterback, top 10 quarterback. Let's say you want to go after Kyler Murray. Let's say you want to go after Anthony Richardson. Like you pick the quarterback you want to go after, but you're coming at him with Bryce Young and 2 firsts instead of Bryce Young. Hey, do you also want Saquon? And how about I give you Tank Dell? Well, what if they don't like those players? Then you're back at square one. So I think you have to look at it as getting more flexible so that you can upgrade. And if you have to make the picks in a 10 by 9, if I have to re-roll Tank Dell or Ladd McConkey, like it's not the end of the world because those guys probably aren't determining whether I win or lose here. Sure. So I think become more flexible in shallow leagues when it's obvious that you cannot just add 3 players to go get a stud.
So let's do this because Alex was first and he always has his weekly strategy question. And it is my youngest boy's name. So he's got a soft spot in my heart. This Alex and mine. His question this week is it best to build a team of crooked number guys or more consistent points per game guys? Could the spike variance hurt your season if they don't all hit each week? Shane, you're nodding your head. Go ahead. Why don't you start on this one?
Sure. If everyone doesn't hit in the same week, we're 8 minutes in. I can curse. You're screwed. It's a little early for the F-bombs. Yeah, if they don't all hit in 1 week, you're not looking great. But a lot of these spike week guys, ceiling guys, they also have decent floors. And a lot of times their floors are better than, or at least comparable to the ceilings of a wide receiver that'll get you 16 points consistently. Like that's great until you're going up against a wide receiver that drops 25 on you that week. I think it's been shown that spike week players are on more championship teams than consistent players, but I'm not particularly concerned about them all not hitting because when I'm looking at spike week guys, it's not like I'm looking at guys that hit 2 or 3 times. You know, I'm looking for guys that generally hit 20 points a game or above, or depending whatever threshold you want, but like 6, 7 times a year. You get enough of those guys on your roster and most likely you're going to be fine because if 2 of those dudes hit and 1 doesn't, well, they've already covered for that 1 dude. Obviously, if your whole team goes cold, it doesn't matter if you have a high ceiling guy or low ceiling guy. That can just happen because of variance. So I'm not particularly concerned about that.
Scott, I know you have a bunch of thoughts here. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I'll keep this actually simple because You need to understand where the cutoffs are in your format, whether it's a 10x9 or it's a 12x12. Understand where those cutoffs are. But I'll just give an example. Let's say you're in a 12x10 PPR league, right? Guys like T. Higgins or George Pickens are historically boom or bust receivers. They probably are right on the fringe of startable in a start 10. The key is you probably do not want to be deciding between the two every week. Pick one, pick that lane. I'd probably prefer to have Higgins on a team where I have Burrow or Pickens on a team where I have Russell Wilson, whatever it might be. But the key is, guess what you do with the boom or bust guys? Make sure they're in your lineup. You're already betting on that player on your roster. Don't try to guess when they're going to play. It's the Gabe Davis argument from the last 3 seasons. You know why Gabe Davis pissed people off? Because he'd go for 25 points after he went for back-to-back sub 5 points, and you sat him, and then you go, he was never consistent. But if you were in like a start 11, the best use of Gabe Davis was he's your last starter. Every week on the season, he's going to give me 11.5 points per game, Shane, but he's going to give me 5 games where he puts up 25. And guess what? I got every one of those in my lineup, and guess what I probably did? When my last player went for 23 points, I probably won. So the worst feeling is have those boom bust guys on your bench, because then you go, oh, they're not consistent enough. And you want to pivot to a guy like Deontay Johnson or Michael Pittman. And you're like, how many games are those guys putting up 25 plus? You know, Michael Pittman was great. Didn't have one single game in the top 12. Like, he is the polar opposite of George Pickens. But in the end of the year, you're going to go, wait, they kind of contributed similar WAR to me, but the difference was how many of those Pickens games did I have in my lineup? And if you answer, damn, Shane, 2 of the top 4 games he had, he was on my bench, you're going to be pissed off that you had him. So it's align these guys with your construction. Now, don't roster Gabe Davis in a start 9. He's below the threshold. But if it's a start 11, you know what? If you're looking for your last flex and you have Trevor Lawrence, I don't need Jordan Addison. Put Gabe Davis in that spot instead of getting Gabe Davis on your bench and then getting upset when 6 times a year he outscores Jordan Addison and you go, well, that sucks. He was on my bench. Liquidate one of those and put the other one in that spot and just live with the result. Otherwise, don't roster these players.
Well said. And we're going to need a glossary at some point for what we mean. Hammers, hopefully that makes sense. They're good fantasy football players, put up a lot of fantasy points. And then when it comes to start 9, start 10, when you hear us say that, it's how many players you start each week in your lineup, not including kicker and defense. So if it's a start 8 or 9, that's considered a shallow format. Start 10 is kind of our baseline. It's like medium format, let's say that, medium depth. Start 11, 12, that's when the random asses start getting more and more value. So, or Gabe Davis's live in your lineup. That just tells you right there. So let's go to 3 hammers from someone. Thank you very much, someone. This is a 12-team Superflex PPR 1.5 for the tight end start 11. So again, a little deeper here. Scott, we'll start with you. So Jalen Hurts and backups at quarterback. James Cook, Mixon at running back. DJ Moore, DK, Mike Evans, Cooper, Kirk, Hollywood, Shakir at wide receiver. And then we have Kittle and Hunter Henry at tight end. 225 firsts and all his futures. Last year's league champ. Well, congrats. Road fields through the playoffs. Currently set to play Shakir at the Superflex spot. Screwed if Hurts gets injured. And then he's asking if he should start a rebuild because age players. Should he move some of these first? Let's just look at his team. Oh, I got to read this too. Said, thanks, guys. Best content out there. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. What are you doing with this team, Scott? Seems like there's a lot of question marks. Obviously, quarterback is an issue.
Well, it's a 12x11. So the deeper the league, the more I can kind of get away with a guy like Shakir in my last flex. Now, what I'm not doing is planning on starting Khalil Shakir in the super flex spot. That is suboptimal no matter what. I'd be willing to pay for a quarterback just to get me by. I'd pay for whoever wins the Raiders job or Jacoby Brissett or Sam Darnold. Like, I'm not starting Khalil Shakir in the super flex spot. Now, whether you push this team in a rebuild, I kind of get Shane's thoughts too, because there's a lot of work you got to do to rebuild this team because you're going through the entire team and saying I should sell every piece. So unless you're comfortable with, okay, as soon as I trade Joe Mixon, I have to trade Mike Evans and Amari Cooper and Hollywood Brown and George Kittle, probably Christian Kirk. Wouldn't be a bad idea to sell DJ Moore and DK Metcalf. Then what am I doing? Because now I'm left with Jalen Hurts and a lot of stuff. So I think this team is very much kind of in the dead zone window of there's not a lot of flexibility. It probably depends on the market on some of these guys. What I don't hate doing, can I go get a cheap quarterback? And maybe I want to wait. Maybe Jarrett Stidham wins the Broncos job. Like something where I don't have to pay anything. And then I can slide Khalil Shakir into the lineup and sell one player just to hedge my bets a little bit. Can I sell Mike Evans? Can I sell Amari Cooper? Can I sell Hollywood Brown? Like, that's probably how I'd play it. I'm not rebuilding this team because, Shane, how many firsts could I get if I dumped every skill player on this team? Could I even get 5?
Yeah, and I'll just jump in real quick. I know that question was for Shane, but people would see it coming that you're trying to move, Evans, Cooper. So you're making less along the way with each of those players. Go ahead, Shane. How many firsts can you get?
Yeah, I mean, that's a problem, right? So to get a first out of someone, you're going to have to give them 2 of those old people, Evans and Cooper, probably together. Kirk, Hollywood, and Shakir couldn't get you a first if you added your own first to it. So that won't work. Kittle could get you a first. DJ Moore, probably.
Between Mixon, Moore, DK, Evans, Cooper, Kirk, Hollywood, and Kittle, that's 8 assets that somebody else would definitely want, right? All those guys are startable. But I bet you can net value 5 first from those 8.
I was going to say 4, yeah.
Then I have Jalen Hurts and 6 firsts, and that's my entire team. Nothing else. So I'm completely the opposite of where I stand. This team can win, Shane.
Well, there is this though, right? So if you commit to the rebuild, right, after you make those trades and you say you get those 4 or 5 firsts, understand that you need to split 3 of them. And because it's a start 11, it's very unlikely that you're going to get 2 firsts for a first now, right? Even if it's early, you're more likely to get like a first and a second. Your first might be able to pull 2 firsts because if you do sell all those players, your team's going to be ass. So your pick's going to be super early, and maybe you can split that into multiple firsts. So that's the only thing. If you do want to, you'd have to commit hard to it though. And you need your league to cooperate, because if you can only move 3 of these dudes and then the rest of them are still on your roster, you're not going to be bad enough to suck, and you're not going to have enough assets to rebuild, but you're also not going to be able to win because you sold some of your win now pieces.
Would you do, just real quick, I think this is another creative way to do this. Would you move off of an Evans or a Cooper, somebody that is already up against the age wall? Would you move off of them for, I'll give you a deal, Shane. Would you move Mike Evans for, how about I give you Josh Palmer in a second in a start 11?
Wait, you said what was the status of the team? Because this someone's team was the defending champ, or is the defending champ.
Right. The point is, can I move one of the, I'm not getting a first for Mike Evans or Amari Cooper, but can I get another receiver that projects to be somewhere in the top 40-ish, plus I tack on a second? The second matters to me in a start 11. It feels like that could help me bail out and buy another piece. It's just hedging my bets against the fact that my team only has my own first. I don't have a ton of young assets. I have really no flexibility unless I split one of these players. The problem is splitting DK, DJ Moore, Mike Evans, or Amari Cooper. The split is not a first. The split is a second and another startable but unsexy producing player. Probably.
Yeah, but that's my concern with Josh Palmer, is there is that concern that he might not give you any production. Like, he could end up in theory being the wide receiver 3 or 4 on that roster. Say QJ all of a sudden starts learning how to use his hands in football, he'll be deadly. But also, every year that he's been there, they've gone out of their way to try to replace him. So they really don't like him. And even I know it's a new regime now, but first thing they did is drafted a wide receiver. So that's my only concern about that specific
Curtis
deal.
Samuel in a second for Mike Evans. Would you do it?
What is this, pulled straight from Discord? That I could live with. I could live with that. You know why? Because I think I could flip Curtis Samuel for another second. because people are all loving him. He's going to be the wide receiver one of that Buffalo offense, apparently. But yeah, I get your point.
That's the line of thinking. Is I just look at, I've done a ton of best ball drafts. You look at where like Curtis Samuel and Cortland Sutton go compared to some of the other. I mean, Mike Evans goes way too high for my liking, but you're talking wide receiver 50 for a wide receiver 35. You know what I mean? Like that's literally where guys like Calvin Ridley, Chris Godwin are going off the board. Yet dynasty value wise, go try to buy Chris Godwin or Calvin Ridley for a second. The person's going to go, I need a little bit more, right? But then you go, what is Josh Palmer worth? Oh, I can't even sell Josh Palmer for a second. Yet projections for the future is kind of like they're very similar. And they start 11, they're both startable in that last flex. So that is a way to get more flexible without blowing up the team.
Good stuff there. Okay, let's move to a question from the crowd here. We've got a bunch starred. Thank you guys for that. He says, Johnny Green, that is, says, need to know what CD is worthy in a 2 QB league and in general, so I don't undersell him. Shane, a 2 QB league, what is CD worth?
I mean, generally, when I've been I haven't tried to move CD. All I've been doing is buying. But okay, so let's assume I'm moving CD in a 2 QB league. I don't care if it's 2 QB or not. You need to give me a top 8 quarterback to get him back. I'm not even fucking around with other wide receivers. If my team is shit, sure. You can give me Neighbors and you can give me, I don't know, someone in the Neighbors range. You can give me 2 of those and you can get CD from me if I'm going to take any risk. I need 2 Neighbors because I know what CD is. Amazingly, I know he's a monster. So you're probably not getting CD off of me. Maybe I'm a little, what's the word I'm looking for? Being unreasonable. But sometimes you need to be unreasonable with certain players. And wide receivers that drop 20 plus points in the season, those are the type of players I'm going to be unreasonable to deal with.
Is this a 12-teamer or 10-teamer?
It's 12. It's definitely 12.
I mean,
let's assume it's a 12.
If you are in a 12-team 2 QB, I'm taking like Justin Herbert over CeeDee Lamb. I'm taking Trevor
100%.
Lawrence over CeeDee Lamb. Dak Prescott over CeeDee. The quarterbacks are too hard to get. So, I mean, I'm going down probably further than is comfortable. And it's not that CeeDee Lamb isn't valued there, but if I'm building a team in a startup, like Clay, if you were in a 2 QB and you were picking at the 11 spot, would you ever have the balls to go Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamar Chase? Because
no way.
Then you're looking at what, quarterback 23 as your first starter at best. You know what I mean? So I think it's once you have CD, you have to be a little bit savvy in terms of what does that market look like. Can you get somebody to give you Kyler Murray, Anthony Richardson, Dak Prescott, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert? Like I think Herbert especially, that's one that if I can get my hands on him in a 2 QB, I'll take my chances at receiver. But I think you can probably even get more if you test out your market.
I'm looking,
not super flex, 2 QB.
I get it's 2 QB, but guess what? He's still going to outscore most quarterbacks in the league. And I understand, yes, they're hard to get. I'm assuming not everybody has 4 wide receivers and they're all hoarding them because I know there's a few people in the league that don't understand what they're doing when they play 2 QB. So I'm assuming I'm going to be able to have at least another quarterback that I could slide in there. Yeah.
Sorry. Well, let's ask the group this, and people can put the answer in the chat as we go on.
Sure.
In a 12-team 2 QB league, how many quarterbacks would you take? And just put a number in the chat, 7, 8, 9, 10. How many QBs would you take before you would take a receiver? And I don't even think CeeDee Lamb on the market is even wide receiver 2. He's definitely not wide receiver 1, but I think there's also a couple people that would take other receivers over him, Chase and Jefferson over him as well. So I don't even think he'd be the first receiver off the board. How many quarterbacks would you take in a start 2 QB 12-teamer over CeeDee Lamb in a startup? That should be where you start with the trade value.
Yeah, and I mean, Bijan you don't even see him in the first round when you were going through that. You don't even consider Bijan to be in the conversation. Yeah, just to help out the crowd.
Fantasy Plumber says 10. So 12. Z Vogel goes to 12. Fine. I disagree with all of you.
I mean, the problem is it's hard when you already have CeeDee Lamb, right? Because to stomach trading CeeDee Lamb for Trevor Lawrence or Dak Prescott, you're like, ugh, I don't want to do that.
Feels so gross.
But that's the cost.
Evie Diz 17 says 26. I think he might be being facetious. I hope to God he's being facetious. If he's not being facetious, I'm going to ban him and put him on timeout.
Okay. Got a Shane timeout. That actually might be bad. So we're 25 minutes in. We have 488 eyeballs, also known as 488 people. So Shane, what's that math? 488 times 2. Is it 972-ish?
488.
Something like that. Shane Scott's like, yep.
No, it's like 974.
We'll go with that.
Yeah,
Go
sure.
with that. Fact check that. We've got a very shallow format here from Benny. Oh, and hit that like if you'd be so kind. Easiest way to help at this little channel called Dynasty Trades in 5. 2 hammers from Benny. Very shallow here. Okay, so Scott, this is a 1 QB, 8 team, start 8. Allen Lamar at quarterback. We have Bijan, Saquon, Jonathan Brooks, Pacheco, Derrick Henry, Mixon, Kamara at running back. JJ, AJ Brown, Puka, Waddle, Cup, Diggs, and then Kelsey and Andrews at tight end. No 25 picks, as you could imagine, but 226 first, 227 first, and a couple 26 seconds. He says back-to-back league champ. Moving to Superflex after the 26th season. Good for you. Inbox offer Tyreek and Laporta for all 4 firsts and both seconds. Okay. So you'd be giving your 226 firsts and 227 firsts.
Do it. I don't care if you ask.
And a couple of seconds for Tyreek and Laporta.
Dude, this is I've talked a lot about layaway the last few weeks, and anyone that knows what layaway is, this is 100% it. This is Rent-A-Center deals right here. Like, I'm just going to be paying for this in the far future. 27, you're going to make me pull out. I don't even know if that's a real year yet. So I'm absolutely smashing this deal in a start 8. I don't care. Fuck draft capital. That's 2 F's in this. We're going to get deplatformed because of me. But yeah, I'm taking it. I don't care what Scott says. Give me it all. I'm greedy.
Dude. Yeah, you listed 17 assets in a league where only 64 starters are playing on a weekly basis. You have excess through the nose.
But not all of them are elite. And what you need
Sam
is elite.
Laporta isn't even guaranteed to start on this team.
Yes,
like you do not need Sam Laporta and Tyreek Hill. You know what I'm doing here? You're keeping Allen and Lamar. Just maintain that advantage in a super. I don't care if super flex in an 8 team doesn't matter a whole lot, but you're having Allen and Lamar, so you're good there. I am taking the backups at every other spot and selling them for more picks, because why do I need, and I don't know what the market is for a guy like Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, Joe Mixon, Derrick Henry, but I mean, you have just an embarrassment of riches. I might try to get Tyreek. I might try to get Tyreek Hill, but the point, you have too many assets here. I would rather have basically 12 players, bet on the guys I have, and I want every future pick. I'll worry about it then. You don't need Laporta and Tyreek.
Okay, so you're getting 2 elite players. Bring his roster back up.
Let me just read this real quick. Hammers are all unavailable except for Tyreek and Laporta in this case.
Even better.
League seriously undervalues old dudes. Can't really move off of any of my guys for any value. And the main question was give up all these first, even though it's moving to Superflex. But Scott addressed that because he's got Lamar and Allen. Sorry, go ahead, Shane.
Shane, you have.
Here's the roster. Here's the roster.
I'm going to give an example. Let's say Shane, there's a world where Shane gets remarried at some point, right? And the lady he remarries has 2 kids, and then Shane has 2 kids. They have 6 people in their household. They all drive. Shane, you have 10 cars. Do you need 2 more cars for 6 people?
Yes.
For sure. All of Shane's cars get broken into.
That's a terrible example. You know this. I need a backup car for when it gets stolen. I need a backup car for when the window gets broken out.
You need a Ferrari for Saturday afternoons only. When you go to Dunkin' Donuts in the morning, you got to ride through with a really nice ride.
You're saying, right? I get what you're saying, but he said this league doesn't value old people. I bet you I could turn around and sell Waddle for a first. I could go excuse me. I'm assuming I don't want to move Puka. AJ Brown, Puka, and Tyreek Hill. That's 4, 6.
Okay, Shane, let's compromise. Can I give some players instead of all the picks? I am interested in Tyreek Hill.
Can I
With
give Waddle
Kelsey and
instead of-
Andrews, I do not care about Sam Laporta. I do not need Sam Laporta. But with Tyreek, sure. What can I get Tyreek for without giving up every future first that I have?
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. Can
I do 2 firsts and how about 2 firsts, Pacheco and Waddle for Tyreek? If you had like something like that, I could live with.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be more palatable. Yeah.
Yeah, you nailed it. You nailed that word. What an SAT word.
And prayers up to the rest of your league, Benny. I don't know how they let you get to that point, but I'll just say this. Continuing to trade with Benny for anything that helps him is just perpetuating the league into oblivion at some point.
It's the folding it to where those 27 firsts are irrelevant.
I'll say this is what I'll say is that dude with the trying to get the 4 firsts, he's the only one with foresight because he's going, we're screwed the next 2 years probably. Like I probably can't win anyway.
You know what Benny should try? Benny should go to his league and say, you know what? Let's make the Laporta and Tyreek deal. I will add another buy-in. We'll make it a 9-teamer and I'll start 2 teams. And I'll probably face myself in the championship because I mean, that's how good those teams would be. Ridiculously stacked.
So this seems like a good time for this kind of question. And I feel like I recognize this username.
No. Let's hit this one. Oh,
what's up? Go ahead.
I was going to, no, bring that back up. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, do you have something you really want to
I was going to bring up the hammer, but or the super chat.
The super chat?
Bring this up.
Yeah. I'll get to the super chat. Yeah. So this is 3 hammers from Irish Exit. This is kind of apropos for what's going on our TVs these days. Which Olympic sport would you guys be best to compete in and why? And then the second question is, do you think you could land a drop kick? Shane, we'll start with you. What Olympic sport would you be best to compete in and why?
Okay, so it can't be anything that needs.
You're
stamina.
A smoker.
Even if I've cut back a lot, I'm not a heavy smoker anymore. I'll say that I've cut down a lot.
10,000 meters, right, Shane? That one.
But I am not running because that's no. Anything that involves balance, I'm super clumsy, so can't do that.
So you can't swim. You can't swim, probably. That's
I can swim. But I'm not going to be good at it. But that's probably the best thing I would be at.
You can float and flail.
There was some diving, curling. Yeah, I could kick ass at curling.
Yeah, curling. That's a winner game. Team handball. I could see you being good at team handball.
Oh
no,
I handball just sounds like something else to me. Sorry. Yeah, there's some like the weird Olympic sports that shouldn't be sports. You know, you turn it on at 3 a.m. and there's someone tweeted it out last night. There's just like 8 guys standing around like this weird net. Like one of those sports, I could definitely do it. Little cannonball, that
standing around.
Can I throw things? Net. Whatever sport I can throw things. Not basketball, but any sport that I can throw things, I would do well at.
Yeah, Scott, what do you think here? You were an athlete at one point in your life. Maybe you still consider yourself to be. You were a power lifter. So
I'm definitely not an athlete. Powerlifting is not an Olympic sport. I'm not a good Olympic weightlifter. My mobility is absolute dog shit at this point. So weightlifting would be out. If powerlifting was there for my weight class, I mean, I'm not a big guy, but I was pretty strong for being 160 pounds. So I was pretty strong, but powerlifting is not an Olympic sport. I will go. It's a good question. I think I'll throw one out there. I was the high school badminton champion for 2 years in a row.
There you go.
Badminton is probably the sport until you watch like badminton or table tennis and you're like, you have to be so ridiculously good in those sports. Like I would show up and it would be like, I have no chance because I haven't played since I was 1.5 years old. So that would be the one I probably would have the best shot on, but that would be just to be there. I would get my absolute ass whipped in both of those sports.
Josh got a good one. Arm wrestling.
Yeah, that could work. Here, let's just throw this up here real quick though. I would do swimming, but I was a swimmer. Shane, could you land a drop kick?
Not a chance in the world. Absolutely.
Shane, I mean,
no chance.
Clay, you could be. I think Clay would be good at fencing. He would have or boxing.
So I have the reach
because you have a long reach.
Sure.
They're tough to get to you.
if someone gets in on his body, he's too thin. They would absolutely destroy his kidneys. That's the
But
problem.
but I would land a drop kick on their way in.
That's
They'd
true.
be coming in to do a move like that. I'd land an epic drop kick.
I can hit a flying kick. I don't know that I can hit a drop kick. Can I hit a drop kick going into a pool? I can do that. I'm no fear of diving and doing that stuff in a pool. It's just
we should do some more Olympic stuff at the expo. Put it on the channel.
Yes.
Yeah, we should. That was actually great. Last time. Okay, thank you, Irish Exit, for those hammers. Let's move back into some Dynasty content here. Let's go to this one from Wolfman23. Thank you for the 3 hammers. This is a 12-team Superflex PPR start 10. So CJ Stroud, Watson, May at quarterback. We have Chase, Marv, Garrett Wilson, Nico Ridley at wide receiver. We have Ken Walker, Connor, and Trash Cans at running back. Andrews at tight end. No 25 picks. No real depth on my bench. The trade is give Deshaun Watson, Garrett Wilson, and Nico Collins, and you're getting Kyler, Diggs, and Adams. Thought, Scott? And it says originally was going to do Nico for a late 25 first and Diggs, trying to compete, and then another comment there. But let's do this trade real quick. Let me clean it up. 12-team Superflex start 10. You're giving Watson, Garrett Wilson, and Nico, and you're getting Kyler, Diggs, and Adams.
Can I still do the Nico Collins for Stephon Diggs in the first?
Right.
I would love that deal. That would be a sweet deal if I could get that one done. But this one, Watson to Kyler is pretty significant, especially since you have Marvin Harrison. That's probably worth... Honestly, that's probably worth Watson and Garrett Wilson for Kyler alone is pretty fair. I mean, you may prefer to get the Wilson-Watson side if you're in on Watson, but I think that's actually not a bad deal. And then you're essentially trading Collins for Diggs and Adams. If you're okay absorbing the risk on the age, I think the value side is Kyler, Diggs, Adams, and I think the production side is Kyler, Diggs, Adams. Hell, you may have the 2 most productive receivers in the deal, plus you're getting the quarterback upgrade from a very risky asset in Watson. I'm taking the get side here pretty easily. I think I'd need another first on the other side to move Kyler, Diggs, and Adams in that deal. But I get it. If someone really wants to bet on Watson, they're getting the most valuable player in Wilson aside from Kyler.
That's it, right? You're betting on Wilson because you've seen all the tweets about how what
was that a robot voice to start?
You're 100% robot.
Robot.
We're good now, Shane. Yeah, it was good.
Good stuff. Yeah, and look, I wanted to make an obscene remark about Wilson, and now all my thunder's been stolen. So yeah, I'll just take Kyler.
Go for it.
Just everybody's slobbering all over him on Twitter. Like, look at how he talks back to Aaron Rodgers. Like, I don't give a shit if he talks back to Aaron Rodgers. Can he just produce like an actual elite wide receiver on the field? Because he hasn't done it yet. And I don't want to hear that Zach Wilson was his quarterback and all this other nonsense that people give him a pass on, especially when they won't give the same pass to my dude Olave. All that said, Kyler is a very significant upgrade from Watson. Adams is going to give you as much production as Wilson or Collins, and Diggs should be within that range of one of those 2. So, yeah, I'm 1,000% going on the Kyler side.
Good stuff there. Okay, let's go to a starred comment from Johnny Mack. Always in the comments after these shows drop. We appreciate you. We have tons of OGs in the house. 565 watching now. Johnny asks, so this is a 12-team Superflex PPR tight end premium start 11. Let's assume that it's 1.75 for the tight ends. I traded away Lamb for Garrett Wilson and a 25 first, second, and third. I'm in rebuild mode and expect to finish my rebuild with 5 firsts in 2025. Scott was smirking as if he's reading something else. Shane, do you want to start here?
No, I'm not. I'm not reading anything else. I'm literally just laughing
from the drop kick.
No, I'm laughing because Shane literally was about to go on a diatribe on Garrett Wilson, and then we get a Garrett Wilson trade where you're trading away an elite asset. But the context, I think, in a start 11, getting the second and the third as well, plus you say you're rebuilding and you're stacking an asset that even if you don't think Garrett Wilson is elite or he isn't producing like he's elite, you now have another asset you could flip right now. You could probably go get Malik Neighbors in a second for Garrett Wilson if you wanted. Like you could move off of him for the same process. And I think the value whether Shane's going to go off on Garrett Wilson again, getting a first, second, and a third plus Garrett Wilson in a start 11, you're willing to down tier off a receiver, any receiver in the league for that. So I think it's good process here, especially stacking those 25 firsts. People are going to want them, like Ray says.
Yeah,
Shane,
I mean, you have to do 2 for 1 in a start 11, and even if you're a little skeptical of Garrett Wilson holds enough value that you could flip him for another first and probably another wide receiver if you wanted to. So yeah, you have to take this deal, unfortunately.
Yeah, and like Scott said, you're stacking 25 first. Moving from 4 to 5 is more than the value of just 1 first. So Sean L says, Patreon gang, where you at? Yeah, that's good timing. If you're listening and you don't want to hear this 30 seconds, you can double skip. You tap the screen 4 times on your phone. But patreon.com/allgas. Join our Patreon. Join our Discord. Join the conversation. It's ridiculous all day. We get these hammers, which we very much appreciate. But you can get all day answers for the same price as like 4 of them or something, like per month. So consider that. Patreon.com/allgas. Join the Dynasty Trades in 5 tier. We do have, that's enough like pitching, right? I hate doing that stuff. Just like talking about Dynasty football. Shane's down to pitch. I apologize, Tyler. This super chat has been in the hopper for a second now. They are on, but we're going to be turning them off at some point here. Tyler, thank you for the $20. Much appreciated. Scott, we'll start with you. It's a 12-team super flex PPR, 1.5 for the tight ends, 6 point per passing touchdown, and you're starting 11. And there's also a small point per carry. So it's a pretty deep format here. Let's see. You have Josh Allen, Russ Fields at quarterback. You have Monty Aaron Jones at running back. You have Chase Brown. Jesus, Clay. I don't know why I'm bringing Jesus into this. I'm just going to reread the team here. Josh Allen, Russ Fields. And then at running back, you have Monty, Aaron Jones, Chase Brown, Chubb. Then you have A.J. Brown, Waddle, Hollywood, Keenan, Palmer, Wandale at wide receiver. McBride.
Is that a Rondale or a Wandale or a combination of both?
I'm just going to go, even though it's Wandale, I'm going to go Rondale. We're going to go Rondale Moore instead of Wandale, as if that's going to make a difference.
Fun fact, anybody ever seen the famous picture of Wandale Robinson and Rondale Moore next to each other where there's a debate on if either of them are bigger than 5'7"?
Right. The inbox offer here, Scott, is send Waddle and 425 first. You're getting Marv, Caleb, and Bryce Young. So deepish format, 12-team Superflex, start 11. Dude, this is a trade that will get the league all sorts.
Shane was not even paying attention until he heard Waddle in 4 first, and then he looked up like, "Wait a second, I should tune into this question." Like literally, you could see his head rise when he heard 4 firsts in a trade. It got his attention.
It's like a dog hearing cheese, like cheese paper or whatever.
In fairness to me, I was reading a DM from someone that we did a roster review for. And I was going to answer them, but now I'll answer them after this. So go ahead.
I mean, let's work through it, Shane. How many firsts on top of Waddle to get Marvin Harrison?
And most people would probably
1.5.
Yeah, 1.5 is probably the math.
Okay,
right
so
there.
if it's 2, Waddle and 2 firsts for Marv and Bryce Young, is that fair?
Give me Marv and Bryce out of the 12-team Superflex, Shane. Start 11.
I mean, we go back to what else can you do with it? What else can you do with it, right?
Clay, can you buy Caleb Williams or Marvin Harrison for 2 firsts each right now? If you just sent that out in a league, would they accept it?
So you're sending 2 firsts for Marv.
If I send you 2 firsts for Marv or Caleb, are you accepting either one? Let's just assume they're random picks.
No, not right now. Especially
so, and then it's Waddle for Bryce, and if that's even close to fair, you're probably getting more value on the Caleb and Marv side, right?
Yeah,
it's a weird offer. This is a all-in offer for both sides.
That's the
I don't hate the Waddle in 4 firsts because I think I can do a lot with that.
It is. And, and there's probably only a certain amount of teams he could go to with a deal like this, because you're looking for, if you're like, all right, I'm going to shoot my load all over the league, I need to get return. I need what could be a stud quarterback and a stud wide receiver. Otherwise, this doesn't work. And I don't know how many.
You want insulation, Shane. You do not want to buy like production only. You need like premier assets moving upwards if you're giving away 4 firsts.
And then I'm getting Bryce thrown in. And if Bryce is good, I can sell him for a first later if I really need to. Although looking at the rest of my quarterback room, I probably wouldn't do that.
Would you rather hold a first and not take Bryce?
Yeah.
3 firsts and Waddle for Caleb and Marv?
And leave me a little bit of shopping. So I have shopping money for in season.
Leaves you a first to not have to be stuck with Bryce if he starts out bad,
It's tough though. Sorry for jumping in, but you've got Josh Allen, fantastic, but then you have Russ and Fields, so you've got that locked down.
But if I'm getting Caleb, do I even want Bryce Young? If I'm getting Caleb, do I want Bryce?
Only is it something that I can shop later, right? Because I want to flip him for a first later. But if I can not pay the first now, then just let me hold the first now. Now, the problem is the other person going to do that? Like they're selling Bryce. Like they're like, I don't want this.
No, they probably want out of everything and just want picks. They, that if that's not a linchpin of the deal, I'm taking the Marv Caleb side. If it is, I'm a little more suspect. But Bryce just goes into purgatory on that roster. He's not even guaranteed to start over like Russell Wilson or Fields.
Yeah, I think I would do it. I would think I would do it, talking through it. And you know what? You should talk through a big deal like that. That's why you should jump into Patreon and talk to everyone about that.
Oh, that is a big deal.
So this one is directed to Scott, or it's mentioned Scott. So we'll start with you. Even though the last Rich Rebar show, I was like, oh, this is referencing Scott. So we'll start with Shane. Scott, we'll start with you. Thank you, Devin, for the $5. Scott talks about selling excess for flexibility when possible. How do you balance selling excess in best ball when you need depth to compete? How do you want to approach this? First off, Scott, with the format, like, best ball formats, what's a standard more than others. So frame that up for us.
Well, I don't know if it's Devon or Devin, but I appreciate the question because I think it is thought provoking. I do think the specs in best ball matters a lot more too. How many roster spots, how many starters, what is the scoring? Like all of that is going to matter because anybody that's played in best ball, there is certain levels of what things are worth and also what's available most throughout the season. I'm in a lot of best ball leagues where it's 30-man rosters. You know what I can find? A receiver that can crack my lineup probably 2 or 3 times. So I'm immediately actually going to devalue receivers that I can get some usable weeks out of that have a little dynasty value when there's free receivers that have no dynasty value that people don't want. I'll give an example. I just moved a share of Wan'Dale Robinson for a third in a best ball league. And I picked up Allen Lazard. The range of outcomes for both of them in a best ball league is they probably don't hit my lineup more than 3 times, maybe 4. But Allen Lazard is free, and Wan'Dale Robinson could actually turn into a third, which could get me something that I think matters a little bit more. A spot start QB, a running back with a more solidified role. So I think it's selling from the positions that don't have a lot of leverage, and that's usually receiver, that's usually tight end, because those are the positions that across a season – there's just a way more players that contribute at those spots. So selling excess, there's levels to it. Would I sell a guy like DJ Moore in a best ball? He's valuable. You need some DJ Moores. But what am I selling him for? Can I get 2 seconds and a Tyler Lockett type? Like in a best ball, I'm taking that type of deal all day just because what I'm getting as replacement value doesn't hold the same waters. If I was limited to a start 10 lineup league, I don't want Tyler Lockett in a second. Like that doesn't help me in a lineup league, whereas a best ball league, that definitely helps me. So I think you're always trying to sell from excess. I'll just leave it at this. Anybody that's played in best ball for a while, the best leverage position to be in is when you can start going the other way. You have extra pieces to start tiering up because you know what's available in best ball? Tier ups. People are scared to death of not having depth. They will always be willing to listen. If you're willing to buy something at peak price, unlike a start 10 lineup league where they're just going, I'm not selling Justin Jefferson. In a best ball, they might, just because the appeal of getting 3 assets is much higher in best ball. When you have too many and you can start going, ooh, like I went through a best ball team yesterday. There's like 7 players I want to pick up on waivers. There's nobody I want to cut. I have a problem. And you know what I can't sell? The shittiest players on my team. So I got to go, okay, what can I sell from the middle and pick up the players on waivers because they're free? That's how I have to start thinking about it.
Good stuff there. Shane, we'll start with you on this one. So we got, look at this. What is this? 5 hammers from Russell Y. Thank you very much. So here's an example of a very generous person, Russell Y, who could get a month's worth of Patreon instead of giving this hammer here. So Russell, holler at T Sandiford, TSANDIFORD at dynastytradesand5.com, and we'll let's chat. Let's see if we can get you in there. So Shane, this is a 12-team superflex PPR 1.75 for the tight ends. There's also a big 0.25 point per carry. So every rush attempt is 0.25, and this is a start 10. So this is a nice little format here. Justin Herbert, T-Law, and backups at quarterback. Has Tony Pollard and Trash at running back. CeeDee, Garrett Wilson, Dell, Polk, Wicks at wide receiver. Bowers and Hawkinson at tight end. 225 firsts, 225 seconds, and 226 firsts. What direction should I take this team? And then did 2 recent trades. Should we go over the trades or talk about the team first?
I mean,
what's
trade,
cooler?
We can talk about the trades.
Right, let me read the trades. Let me read the trades. Gave Smitty in a 25 second, got Dell in an early 25 first. I think we're on board with that very easily. And then gave Brian Thomas Jr. in a mid 25 first and a 26 second, got Garrett Wilson.
Oh,
that's an interesting one, especially in this in this format. Mid 25 first with a big point per carry. We're looking at running backs.
You're definitely making a bet on Garrett Wilson there, and I did an episode about making bets last week, so I can't now turn around and be like, you shouldn't do shit like that. Even though every fiber of my being is like, don't make the bet on Garrett Wilson, but there's reasons to believe in Garrett Wilson. So I don't hate that deal. I mean, I don't love it, but I don't hate it.
I'm going to override my brethren here. In a point per carry, there's zero chance I'm giving up a 25 first to tier up to a receiver.
Yeah,
if you hit on a Jonathan, like Jonathan Brooks in this format is worth as much as Garrett Wilson. And just think about where Jonathan Brooks will be in a good running back class. Yeah. You're going to want to have a 105, 106, 107, 108. You're going to want all those picks. I do not want to pay draft picks for a receiver upgrade in this format. No.
I will say this, right? So I had a deal that I sent out to someone in a league where I had 524 firsts, and I sent 4 for 2 wide receivers.
Sorry, 525 firsts or 24? I just want to make sure you don't overspeak. Okay, you said 24. Start over.
Sorry. I have 525 firsts. And obviously it's a great running back class. The PPC isn't as high as this. And the offer sat out there and then it expired. And it expired after I had a moment of like, holy shit, what am I doing here? Because it was for both wide receivers, but I was just more of like, I want to compete this year. I don't feel like waiting until next year. But I was happy that it expired when it came to pass, because I was like, just adding 4 or 5 running backs to this roster next year, even if I only hit on 2 or 3 of them, it's going to be crazy. Now, Brian Thomas Jr., the reason I'm okay with it, I like Brian Thomas Jr., but he's a late first. You're giving up 2 firsts for Garrett Wilson in a PPC. All right, never mind.
It's cool. Let's just let's talk about what direction should take this. Should you take this team? Sounds like that first trade was solid. Second one is a question mark. Herbert, T-Law, backups. Here's the team, Scott. I won't reread the whole thing, but it's a fairly deep-ish league. What direction are you taking this? There's only one running back. We have Tony Pollard.
12 by 10. See, I think in a league like this, you have to price out what the running backs are going to cost, because a lot of the point per carry leagues I'm in, Do people treat the running backs like the open market does? Because every year in leagues like this, you can kind of just patch together a competitive team, especially if you have if you just take the quarterbacks he has, plus CeeDee Lamb, Bowers, and Hawkinson, because you can probably flex Hawkinson in this format because it's 0.75. Like, you don't need guys like Wicks and Polk, but if you can't get anything for them, you can start them because the receivers are deleveraged enough. Can I move Tank Dell for 2 hammer running backs that are old? Can I move Tank Dell for James Conner and another running
Nixon.
back? I mean, if you can get both of them, that's a smash. But if you just look at what a 1 to 2 year, put it this way, a guy like Najee Harris is worth well more than Tank Dell in this format. But the dynasty market doesn't always adjust to that. So if you can move Tank Dell for Najee Harris in a second, like, that's just flat out a smash deal for you, and you're getting the second, which the second can be used, to buy insert random running back again that can leverage the point per carry. But you have the stability of Bowers, Hawkinson, Lamb, Herbert, you just kind of ride together. You patchwork running back every year. It just happens to be the dominant position. So I would never rebuild a team like this, not when it already has these assets in place.
Well, and that's the problem too, though, is you're not in a position where you're going to rebuild because you just traded a 25 first. So, right. I mean, I think he has 125 first. All these 2s and 25s and 1s all mixed up.
Has 225 first, 225 seconds, and 226 first.
Thank you. You're not really in a position to rebuild, but like Scott said, if you can move any of these wide receivers, G-Dub, well, never mind, not G-Dub. If you can move Dell for a running back like Najee Harris, you're sitting pretty, and then holding on to those 225 picks and adding running backs to this next year, you'll be probably in really good shape.
This is a tough one. Oh, he did say in the gave Smitty, this other trade gave Smitty in a 25-second, got Dell and an early 25 first. So you just putting that thing in a vault though, because we're looking at what direction to take this team.
For Quinshon Judkins, you've already submitted the pick.
Given the format, it's a very valuable pick. It doesn't mean I wouldn't move it, but you have to look at an early 25 first in what next year's running back class could be in a 0.25 point per carry. That pick is Jonathan Taylor. That's the minimum I would want. And in that format, is somebody moving one of those guys for a draft pick? Probably not. So you're probably going to end up holding that pick for a while.
Definitely. Thank you for those hammers, Russell Y. So we got 3 from Nick. Thank you very much. Shane, starting with you here. 12 team. We're going to assume super flex. Looking at his quarterbacks. 12 team super flex. PPR 1.5 for the tight ends. 4 point per passing touchdown. And let's just say it's a start 10, Shane. Lamar, Watson, Nix at quarterback. We have Kyron, Mostert, Chubb, Moss, Brooks, and Gus at running back. Amon-Ra, Puka, Rice, Keenan, Thielen. And then I'm not even going to try.
That's Jelani Woods.
I'm not even going to Jelani Woods, and then what?
Dave
what, Shane?
From that was the dude with the Rams.
Oh, okay.
Right?
I was mixing. A hammer, whatever it is. 25.
Putting cans at the tight end position would have been appropriate here.
Yeah. That's what got me all thrown off. 25 first, 225 seconds, 226 first. What to do at tight end? Thoughts on this trade? Just traded Caleb, a late 25 first, and Kincaid for Lamar, Brooks, Rice, and a mid 25 second. Okay. So again, Shane, we're just assuming 12 team super flex. It's 4 point per passing touchdown.
I mean that. So he already did the trade.
Just traded, yeah.
But he didn't list Kincaid with his other tight ends. I feel like it was a secret reveal. Like he wanted us to turn the page and show, like, aha.
No, traded. No, he traded that away. He got
and
Lamar,
Kincaid.
Jonathan. He had Kincaid. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that makes the deal a little different in my head. But Lamar over Caleb, a 25 first, late 25 first over Brooks. I don't know. Maybe I would take Brooks there. There's no tight end premium. Like your tight ends
it's
are
a small tight end premium.
What was the tight end premium? That's not a tight end premium. Go back. I'm looking at it. I'm working it out in my head. I'm doing the
Yes,
math
sir.
calculations. Rice, 25-second. I don't know. This just feels so sideways. I hate deals like this. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like, if I have to sit here this hard to figure out if you won or not, I don't think you won. And I'm not saying you lost.
I mean, Shane, I think you can wash out Caleb and Lamar, whether you prefer one or the other. I think you can almost wash those out. So it comes down to
in a 4-point though, Scott. In a 4-point, you watching that?
The Caleb Williams, the asset, versus Lamar Jackson, the asset. Now, would we prefer Lamar short term? Sure, but I don't think that is enough to where it's much of a difference in trade value. So I think it comes down to right now, if you had Kincaid in a 1.5, and keep in context, this roster traded Kincaid, right? So we're already kind of putting a bullet on the tight end position for this team because they're very bad after trading Kincaid. I don't know. I think I might have kind of like the 3 assets that we had, especially because you were traded for kind of a dead zone receiver with Rice. I mean, is good, but I think I don't know. I think I might have taken the other side
because
the Caleb Lamar point was tough, but now my roster is a little disjointed.
Right. Now I'm looking at Rice and I'm going, well, can I flip Rice for a tight end? Because my tight ends are
Can I move
bad.
Rice and a 25-second for Kincaid would be a smash?
Did I do that? Just send it back. Yeah.
But would you sweat that? Shane, you mentioned it was a very small tight end premium. We don't know exactly how many starters, but let's say a start 10. You kind of made that bet. Are you sweating trying to get a tight end? Because people are going to see that coming.
I have Watson. Can I get Njoku for a second and I don't know, something else?
I mean, these tight ends are so bad that I'd rather just cut them both and stream a different tight end every week. So that's part of the equation for me. And there is I don't want to say not zero. There's a probability. I think it's more likely than not that Kincaid is actually elite. I know he was overshadowed by Laporta last year, but Kincaid really had a really good rookie season. Yeah,
Nick Chubb in a second for Njoku. Would you do that, Shane?
Yeah, I'd absolutely smash that.
I actually think if you send that to somebody, they will think about it because Nick Chubb still has a name.
Yeah. Well, did you see?
And you have access there.
He stood up with weights, and it was like 3,000 pounds. So that means his knee is fine. He's no problem.
Tan Man makes another good. Put Tan Man's comment up.
Go ahead. You go for it.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll throw this up there.
I'm in a different
If
spot.
he's tight end eligible, I heard a very convincing show about if you would just start Taysom Hill every week, you're probably going to get like 5 spike weeks, which is better than
sure.
Like it's the same as if you have Noah Fant or Hunter Henry or someone like that, but it's Taysom Hill, and it probably has a higher weekly ceiling.
Did you win him in the auction? Didn't you try to snag him?
I tried to get him. No, but it's best ball. Like that. And in a lineup league, the tight ends he had, I would rather start Taysom Hill 17 weeks than stream Jelani Woods and Davis Allen. You know what I mean?
Because I know they're giving me zeros just about every week anyway. Right. So when the weeks that Taysom Hill did, I wouldn't even be mad at him because I'm like, that week that he threw for a touchdown ran.
If you have him, he's never not going to start him.
That's why he's on your roster.
Live with
That's why he's on your roster. And I will say this: I see him on rosters and hardly ever start it. And I'm like, why do you have him then? Like,
Or you see him on the roster and it's like they have Evan Ingram and Sam Laporta. You know what I mean? But Taysom Hill's just chilling there for.
I mean, and that is the good thing. I know we trashed Taysom Hill. A lot of people have in the past, but like the good thing about it for fantasy purposes is he gets used in every role. Oh, you want him to be a receiver? Now, maybe not a lot in all of them. Sometimes he can play a quarterback. Hell, for all we know, he might end up being the kick returner for that team. And if you have kick return points, then all of a sudden he's even helping you even more.
Scott, we got 3 hammers from Marcus F. Thank you very much. This is a 10-team 2QB PPR with a 0.25 point per carry. Every rush attempt is 0.25. Start 10. Mahomes, Kyler, Rodgers, and Trash at quarterback. Ken Walker, Brian Robinson at running back. Then you have Marv, AJ Brown, Garrett Wilson, Addison, Amari. Freiermuth, and Michael Mayer at tight end. You got 425 first to work with, 225 seconds. The trade is send Kyler, Marv, Freiermuth. You're getting Lamar, Andrews, and Saquon. So it's a 2 QB with a 0.25 point per carry. Which side are you going?
I'm not doing this deal. I think Kyler and Lamar are close enough to where I really don't care if I have Kyler instead of Lamar. I'm not trading Marvin Harrison Jr. for Andrews and Saquon. I know it's 0.25 point per carry. What I would rather do is take my Jordan Addison, my Amari Cooper, my Garrett Wilson, and do a couple of those crusty deals for running backs because it's 0.25 point per carry. You don't need those 5 receivers. You're not roster constructing the same way here as you would in a typical league. I don't know if it's start 3 receivers or 2, but if it's start 2 receivers, that's even more important to not be overloaded with guys like Jordan Addison. I mean, Jordan Addison is going to be outscored by like 8 points per game by the RB12. It's not even going to be close. So holding Jordan Addison, the dynasty asset, at anything more than a mid-second, you're doing your lineup a disservice, but he's actually not helping you even if he's what you think he could be. Even if he's wide receiver 24, you're going great. He's giving me 13.5 points per game. Meanwhile, some asshole starting Raheem Mostert and he's going for 20 a game. I mean, it's a stark difference. So that's where I'm exploiting in these 0.25 point per carries. What I'm not doing is using my Marv AJ Brown to get running back value, which he's basically getting Saquon kicked in here. So I'm not doing this, looking to explore running backs, getting more. Give me another Brian Robinson. Give me a Ramondre Stevenson type. Like those guys are going to smash Jordan Addison and Amari Cooper. So that's who I'm targeting here. Just price check them all. You have 4 firsts. You have a ridiculous setup here. Don't waste it.
Indeed. Shane, any quick thoughts here? Send Kyler, Marv, Freiermuth, get Lamar, Andrews, and Saquon.
No, we are not doing this. We are not moving Marvin Harrison Jr. Kyler, he's not exactly Lamar, but he's going to be Lamar-esque. So there's really not that much of a downgrade or whatever the word I'm looking for is. You're not. No, I mean upgrade. That's the word I'm looking for. Good Lord. I don't see a tight end premium. No. Okay.
Yeah.
Saquon. We've talked about this. I'm not going to get into the Saquon talk again. Go Eagles.
The shittiest assets to have here are wide receiver 20 to 40.
Mm-hmm.
They are the worst assets to hold because the market is still going to value them, but they are the least leverageable assets. They matter the least in a 10 by 10 0.25 point per carry. I would never want to start more than 3 receivers ever.
So Shane, 3 hammers from Captain Kirk. Thank you very much. So this is a 12-team 2 QB PPR 1.5 for the tight ends, 4 point per passing touchdown, and you're starting 10. Looking for general guidelines on an Empire League startup with this format. League voting on auction versus snake, 3rd round reversal. What do you think here, man?
Well, especially in an Empire League, not that you don't want every league to be fair, but I truly need it to be fair in an Empire League, right? Because right out of the gate, if someone wins, well, the league's almost half dead. So you have to do 3rd round reversal because it's more equitable. It's fairer. What other guidelines are we looking at? What did he say? Snake or snake auction versus snake. Again, I hate auction drafts. Absolutely despise them. Hate everything about them. I hate them. I hate people that force me to join them, Scott. When you're sitting at work, minding your own business, and you're like, I'm not joining this league. And then Scott texts you and he's like, no, you kind of have to join this league. And you join the league. Anywho, but auction is fair. It is more fair than the draft. So you have to go auction. So there wouldn't be a 3rd round reversal then. It wouldn't even matter come to think of it. So yeah, I think you go auction. I guess that's all he's asking for. He's not asking if we want PPC. There should be PPC in here. There should be a tight end. What are we doing?
There is a small tight end premium, but Scott,
1.5,
anything glaring? Let's do this, Scott. What is the ideal roster size, total roster size for this format? It's a 12 by 10.
So it's 2 QB. So I'd actually probably lean with a couple extra roster spots because people are going to want to carry a bunch of quarterbacks because it's 2 QB. I'd probably go 12 by 10, 30-man rosters. Normally I'm 12 by 10, 28, but I think 12 by 10 with 30 would be fine. You guys know we would probably bump the tight end premium up to 0.75 just to make it a little more spicy.
Mm-hmm.
Can we do Clay's preferred 5 points per passing touchdown and hedge between the two, especially in 2 QBs where the scarcity is going to be there? I think it'll be a perfect blend. Hell, while we're at it, can we just make it start 11 with 30-man rosters? That doesn't change the quarterback scarcity, but it adds another starter in there. I'd go 12 by 11, 5 point per passing touchdown, 1.75 tight end premium. If you want to do a small point per carry, like 0.1, 0.15, you could do that. But I don't really care, honestly, between the auction versus snake. I prefer auction, but a lot of people are like, auction takes too long. It's too clunky. I assume because most people they're not playing on MFL. So this is sleeper, which you try to do an auction on sleeper and you need everybody to devote 5 hours to make sure they can sit there and not get auto drafted like Clay and process over players where he spends 40 on players when the max player is going for 5.
That wasn't process over players. That was in the auction.
No, that was hammers. That was hammers.
That was hammers.
Hammers. Yep.
Freaking auctions, man.
But yeah, like if you're doing it on sleeper, we've done a live auction on sleeper. It's fun, but it is.
Oh yeah, we
consuming.
did.
It's fun.
It was.
You have to spend 4 hours there and throw a party. You know what I mean? It's fun. It's just, it's time consuming and you need 12 people to be on page with picking the time to do it.
Oh, here's another Empire one. This is actually good timing then. So Dank Charlatan, thank you for the 3 hammers. Much appreciated. Scott, 12 team super flex, half PPR, full PPR for the tight ends, start 9. And this is an Empire. Mahomes, Hurts at quarterback. We have Brees, Gibbs, Kyron, Zamir at running back. AJ Brown, Nico, Diojon, JSN at wide receiver, and then Mandrews at tight end. Sent the 2024 111, his 25 first and second. Also Flowers and McBride for Brees, AJ Brown, the 205 and the 25 second. So lots of stuff here. But sent the 111. 25 first and second, Flowers McBride for Brees, AJ Brown, and a couple seconds. It's hard to even reread here.
We paid a lot, but I think Shane would agree. In a start 9, we got 2 clear hammers for probably 3 of the 5 assets that we traded away. Between Flowers, the second, and the 111 are right on the fringe of startable here. So I think I'm fine taking the Brees, AJ Brown side. This is the trade this is the poster child trade for when everybody says, how do I upgrade in a start 9? You hope there's a team in the league that will be willing to give you 2 top 12 skill players for a bunch of stuff. And you already have Andrews, so you're able to move McBride, who's obviously a deleveraged piece already because of your roster. So I'm taking the Brown and Brees side. And you got 2 seconds to play with too. Never know what you can do with those.
Yeah, and Shane, I'm just putting this up there. It says other moves, pretty thin behind my starters. Should I try to hedge and sell a Kyron or Zamir for picks / cheap vets to get some margin for error, or try to take down the Empire pot with this team? So, I mean, yeah, you'd love to sell like Kyron and Zamir instead of Brees and Gibbs. But any thoughts there, sir? Were you shopping for loofahs?
No, I don't understand the question. Go back, read it again.
I think here's the reality. I'll answer it for you. You have Mahomes, you have Jalen Hurts, you have Brees Hall, you have Jahmyr Gibbs, you have AJ Brown, you have Mark Andrews. That's what's winning or losing your league. Yes. The other 3 players you stick in there, JSN, Diojon, Nico Collins, Kyron Williams, Zamir White, you can probably move 2 of those, recoup some of the future value. It has 0 impact on whether you win or lose this year. But you have 5 hammers, 6 if you want to count Mark Andrews as a hammer, which I think I would, even in a non-tight end premium or a half-point tight end premium. But like, who cares if you move Nico Collins or Kyron Williams? Like, those are just extra pieces that.
Yeah, if you can get a future first for him, and I know it's Empire, but you got to take the league down 2 years in a row, right? 3 years in a row, depending. You might not win this year, even though you have the best team. So you might be playing next year. And if I'm playing next year, I'd much rather have those picks than Kyron after this season. just because I assume Blake Corum's going to ruin his life, or at least cut enough into his workload that Kyron's not elite. I mean, it's already dinged his value. So if I can move him now before his value gets even further dinged, yeah, I'll do that.
I mean, I'm guessing he's probably saying that because he's fearful that if he moves too much, then they freeze him out of trades because it's an empire. You know what I mean? Like, I move my depth and then I need pieces, and then all of a sudden I can't get those pieces back. And I don't know. Empires are tough because the market's usually way different than what we typically think of in a start 9 or a start 10.
Shane, let's go with you on this one. And I guess I should reference the crowd here. We have 665 people watching. It's 9:52. We're getting there. We're getting there. Joe McMahon got us a hammer. Thank you very much. Shane, 12 team Superflex, PPR, 1.5 for the tight ends, start 10. We have Kyler, Caleb, A-Rich, Herbert, Rodgers, Brissett, and Darnold at QB. So what is that? Advanced math says 7. We have Jalen Warren, Zamir, and Trash at running back, London, Flowers, Addison, Christian Watson at wide receiver, and then Chig at tight end. The question is, should I trade Justin Herbert for Neighbors and Josh Jacobs?
Yes. Does there need to be a lot of thought? You already have 1, 2, 3.
He's so loaded. Kyler,
4.
Caleb, A-Rich, Herbert. Yeah.
Right. So you have 4 of the top, I don't know, what are we going to say, 13 quarterbacks, 14 quarterbacks. So the rest of your league either is really bad at getting quarterbacks or they just don't care about quarterbacks. And I don't know that you'd be able to make a deal like this for another better. I don't think you would get a better wide receiver than this right there. And I also am in love with Neighbors, and I'd like to buy him right now as opposed to next year when he's a top 5 wide receiver.
Yeah, quick thoughts here, Scott. It seems like a gift with all that excess, and you're addressing running back with Josh Jacobs as well.
Yeah, I thought of Shane. I have a 12 by 10 with 2 PPR for tight end, and I have Stroud, Mahomes, and Burrow. And I've been desperate to move one of them, and I was able to get Kincaid, who in a 2 PPR I think is significant, and Jaden Reed and George Pickens. And people are like, yeah, you only got 3 players. You didn't get any picks. But again, it was my QB3. Like, right. That's the best offer that's ever coming in the door. And I think it's similar in Joe's case. Like, and this is his QB4 and probably the least desirable of the 4 QBs that he has. So yeah, it's a gift. Take it.
Right. So let's go to Matthew Wiggins. 5 hammers from him. Thank you very much. Scott, we'll keep it on you. We have a 10-team Superflex PPR start 9, and it's 4 point per passing touchdown. It says teams play for the 101. What do we think here before I start reading? Do you think there's toilet bowl, like consolation?
It means when you don't make the playoffs, you have to win to get the 101, which Shane absolutely despises that. But
it's interesting. I'm in a couple of them, and hey,
you know what?
The first don't move.
It's more competitive than the championship a lot of times.
You're not that bad. So what we should do to really screw up any parity in this league is give you the first instead of the dude at the bottom or lady at the bottom of the league who could actually use this first and create some parity in this league. But sure, go ahead. Sorry.
So it's a 10 by 9 super flex. A-Rich, Kyler, Minshew, Brissett at quarterback, Singletary, Zeke, and Trash at running back, Pittman, Reed, Neighbors, Flowers, Lockett, Samuel at wide receiver, and then Ferguson, Chig, and Kraft at tight end. 225 firsts and seconds. Coming out of a rebuild, probably a year away. What are the next steps? Sell points and prepare for next year. Try to trade for a running back, hold, and try to get lucky. Running backs are a little overvalued compared to market.
Can you go back to the beginning part of this?
Yeah, I mean, on the surface, I am willing to sell guys like Singletary and Zeke because as much as I want to have competitive teams when we get to the playing for the 101, those guys aren't guaranteed to be there when I'm playing for the 101. So I think I'm doing exactly that. What can I get for a lot of these guys on my team? I'll take my chances with what I have when I get to that. I assume he's not making the playoffs, so he's going to be considering how do I play for that 101 and not completely suck.
I mean, A-Rich and Kyler makes your team really good. Or let me say that has the chance of being really good, assuming
Mhm.
A-Rich isn't. Look, he's not going to.
And Flowers, Neighbors, Pittman, Reed, they're going to give me a floor that like doesn't make me suck, you know?
Yeah, I mean, your running backs are an absolute zero. I love Singletary, but in 10 by 9, if this is your best, these are your starting running backs. Your running backs are already trash-tastic. So yeah, I would just move those guys because who cares? Like the cans can't be that much worse than Singletary and Zeke.
This is exactly the type of team that I don't want to have.
I'd be looking to move Pittman too because I think he's replaceable. I'd probably be looking to move Reed because he's replaceable too. And I know it's counterintuitive, like, oh, I want to come out of this rebuild. But yeah, when I come out of this rebuild, I want to have some elite players on my roster. And I think obviously, I believe Neighbors will be, A-Rich will be, Kyler is. So I'd probably be looking to move some of these other guys.
Yeah. This team is in a tough spot with the whole toilet bowl thing because you're trying to thread a needle. Yeah, it gets to the point where like, I don't want to spend these $225 first to try to, get me the 7th place win in the 101.
Well, yes, it's then tough. You do, but then you'd at least use one of them. You know what I mean? If you're in the running, assuming you're allowed. Hopefully, there's trading in the playoffs, which would make it really interesting, and then I would hate this a little less.
Yeah. I did that in the league. I bought CMC and Amon-Ra, used like 4 firsts for him to try to get the 101.
Let me just say this. I've been in a couple leagues like that too, where like FFPC, you play for your draft spots. Another savvy move is, can you get another one of those firsts that might be playing against you in those ranges for the likes of a Michael Pittman, right? Mm-hmm. Like, how good would it be if you have 3 of the 6 picks that are in the toilet bowl hunt?
Yeah.
And now there's this dynamic where like you're matched up against them, where even if you lose, you have the pick that's advancing to play for the 101. Like there's a lot of jockeying there where your odds are, because there'd be a world where, let's say you almost could like tank your pick so that a weaker team gets through, so the other pick you have gets to the finals and beats the shitty team. You know what I mean?
And that's what happens. It's the problem is first don't move very freely sometimes in leagues like that, which is why I don't dig it, because you can make the argument, oh, this is going to end up being the consolation
every
bracket
pick
winner.
that's bad is the 101.
Yeah,
here's the thing,
though. Right.
Here's the thing: if I am in the consolation bowl and I don't have my own first, I am tanking and selling everything in sight so that you don't get a good pick based off of me winning the toilet bowl. Because if I am anything, I am spiteful and petty. So I will go out of my way to make that happen, even if it hurts me in the long run. Because I'm assuming this buy-in isn't super expensive. So you know what? I'll be like, fuck it, I'll take the loss this year. Just so
Shane
you don't
goes to that
pick.
team and says, if you don't trade me back my first, I'm just absolutely gutting this team.
Yeah.
And starting all scrubs.
Yes. I'll give you a first. Well, I'll be, I won't be, I'll give you a first. So this is fair, but you need to give me mine back or you're not going to win anyway. It doesn't matter because I'm getting knocked out immediately in the first round of the toilet bowl.
It becomes so threatening. Scott, 2 hammers from Nick Beasy. This is a 12-team Superflex PPR start 10. Looks like it's a tiered PPR. 1.25 for the running backs, 1.5 for the wide receivers, 2.0 for the tight ends, and it's a 6-point. Allen, Mahomes, and backups at quarterback. Brooks, Kamara, Monty, Warren at running back. Ayuk, Pittman, DK Metcalf, Rice, Allen, Cooks, McMillan, and then Andrews at tight end. 25 first, which is Nick's, 2 seconds. Says the war wins above replacement favors wide receiver. Trade McMillan and a late second for a Godwin type to add a potentially better starter than Cooks.
Yes.
If Rice's suspension is long, would you trade Rice for Godwin and Ridley for depth, other moves? So you said yes in terms of trading McMillan and a second for a Godwin type.
You know those receivers, Shane, that we always say are flatlined? When you're now giving them 50% more points, you're going, wait a second, there's 40 receivers scoring 19 points per game. Like in that format, the tight ends matter very little because relative to the receiver premium, think about giving like Deontay Johnson, who could have 100 catches, 1.5 points per catch. All of a sudden, it's like, dude, he just added 50 points for doing nothing. So yeah, I'm getting give me as many Godwin, Ridley's, Deontay Johnson's, Christian Kirk's, like that. I want a whole roster full. I think we have a listener league is 1.5.
That's 3 points a week for that wide receiver, by the way. It's 3 more fantasy points per week.
Yes.
Good. Sorry.
It's just in a 1.5 premium. We play in leagues that's like point per carry with PPR, right? So like 1.25 for running backs really isn't that big of a boost. And we play in 2 PPR leagues for tight end. And all of a sudden you're just inflating the receivers to 1.5. Yeah, give me 10 top 50 receivers. I want as many as I can get.
Okay, let's move to the next one here. Thank you again, Nick Beasy. We have Anthony West, one of our OGs. This is thank you very much, 12-team Superflex, PPR 1.5 for the tight end, start 11, 30-man rosters. We have T-Law, Caleb, May, Penix at quarterback, Brooks, Lloyd, and Trash at running back. Marv, JSN, Brian Thomas, Judy at wide receiver, McBride at tight end. 425 first, 325 seconds. Trade Marv and Brian Thomas for a Dunze, Rice, and a 25 first, and then ask other moves. Let's assume that's a mid 25 first. Shane, you were shaking your head. You're not trading Marv, Brian Thomas for a Dunze, Rice, and a 25 first?
No, I don't like that math. I don't like that math at all. I mean, Marvin Harrison's a top 5 dynasty wide receiver right now. I like a Dunze, but he's not that. The Rice and BTJ cancel each other out. So it's basically a Dunze and a 25 first for Marvin Harrison. And I'll just hold on to Marvin Harrison right now. I mean, again, the way you're looking at it is look at what Justin Jefferson was going prior to his rookie season, and then look what he went for the following season. Marvin Harrison's already going for like the after Justin Jefferson's prices now. So you need to pay me that for me to move him.
Yeah. Scott, any quick thoughts?
Yeah. Can I go turn one of my QBs into Kyler Murray? Because I already have Marvin McBride. Let's roll.
Yeah.
Giddy up. Okay, rock and roll. Thanks, Anthony. Appreciate that. And we've got one more in the hopper here. And thanks again for all of the hammer donations. It is buymeacoffee.com/trades5 is where you can submit these. Don't make them too time sensitive, just so we don't get too backed up. So we have one hammer from Mateo 8. And Scott, we'll start with you on this one. 12-team Superflex, start 9. It says the league activity is mid to low. Herbert, Watson, AOC at quarterback, Kendre, Wright, and Trash at running back, Chase, Garrett Wilson, T, Jaden Reed, Ladd, Shakir at wide receiver, Goddard and Fant at tight end. 225 seconds, and Mateo has his own 26 first, was a strong competitor and pivoted to retool. Sent Cousins, 103, a late 25 first, and Brees for Herbert and Garrett Wilson. Have tried to move Watson, Goddard, Shakir, but no luck. Concern is Watson as my QB2 long term. Thoughts on any moves or stand pat? 12x9, 12-team Superflex, start 9. Low to mid activity.
I'd throw a quick plug in there. You mentioned getting 2 backed up. Smooth Move Herbal Tea, 3 of those a night. Never have that problem again. So maybe that'll be a sponsor for us in the future. I'll reach out to him.
Nice.
I am probably just riding this team out. There's going to be a window where I can move some of these other pieces. But yeah, you're not probably able to move Khalil Shakir or Deshaun Watson or Kendre Miller or any of those guys right now. So I think you've done a good job of insulating yourself with 4 or 5 assets that are going to be valuable multiple years. And you have the picks. So I would just continue it. You got to wait for a window to be able to move Goddard or Shakir or Kendre or Aiden O'Connell, or you know what I mean? There's a lot of players here that are going to require something to where in a start 9, someone else would want them. I mean, it does. I'm not shocked you cannot move Khalil Shakir or Dallas Goedert in a start 9. It's probably not going to matter until they do. Got to wait. And Watson long-term, Shane. You have him. You might as well bet on him, right? Like, you're not going to get repaid for what could be the positive if you hold on to him. But if you're wrong on him, he's probably just going to go to what? Derek Carr range. You know what I mean? He just fades into a range where, sure, he's a starting quarterback, and until he's not, he's going to have some placeholder value, but nobody's really going to want him.
I mean, he's hard to move right now. And
do you think when we get closer to the season and like McCarthy's not starting, you could throw a Watson in a second to get a McCarthy type deal?
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, wouldn't that be what you'd try to do if you're a team that does not care about right now? Like kind of, definitely. It's kicking your window out another year because you're probably going to get a mulligan year with McCarthy or even May. Or
that's what I was going to say. May preferably, but yeah.
That's a good
same thought process.
I would take Penix for Watson. I think Penix will have his window. Whether you think he's good, I think there's a window where there's creative moves you can make at QB if you can take advantage of a guy that's not starting.
Yep.
So we went for 1 hour, 30 minutes and 39 seconds. Have 700 people still watching us. Thanks so much for joining. Hit that like if you'd be so kind. The easiest way to help out the channel. Actually, the best way, though, to help out the channel, patreon.com/allgas. Definitely the lifeblood of this channel is our Patreon, is our Discord. So head there, check out our tier, join, and we'll see you in there. I'm going to end this stream. You guys want to say bye? You want to at least wave? Shane, blow a kiss at the camera?
Goodbye.
That's never happened. Yeah, that probably won't ever happen. There you go, Scott.
And I know it's a week early, but anybody that will be at the Fantasy Football Expo, we will be there. So if you're there, if you're close to Ohio, check it out. It's next Friday through Sunday. I believe it starts Thursday, but it's basically August 9th through 11th. So we will be there. And yes.
I haven't. I don't have lodging or a ticket yet, but I'll see
to
you
make
there.
his way to Canton, Ohio, and hopefully he can find a place.
I'm gonna bring a tent. We'll figure it out.
Look, everywhere, any city in America has a homeless shelter. So at worst, you always have somewhere to stay.
There we go. All right,
there is a specific house you can stay in if you want to, Clay.
Yes. I've gotten an invite there, and we'll probably have to take them up on that. All right, cheers. I'm gonna end this stream. Have a good one.
Later.